My bipartisan infrastructure law includes the largest investment in our nation's bridges since the creation of the interstate highway system. Bridges to connect us, bridges to make America work. Across our country right now, there are 45,000 bridges, 45,000, that are in poor condition. We're seeing photos of some of them behind me in all 50 states. And I've had a chance to see some of them myself as I've traveled the country. I was up in New Hampshire, visited a bridge where, if it's not upgraded, weight restrictions could mean that school buses and fire trucks would have to travel an additional 10 miles out of the way to get to the other side of the river to deal with getting to school and/or putting out a fire. In New Jersey, I just visited the busiest rail bridge in the Western Hemisphere. But because it's not tall enough for ship traffic, it needs to swing open to let barges through. And sometimes when it closes, the rails need to be manually sledgehammered back into place. This slows commerce, increased cost. I went down to Louisiana and saw the I-10 bridge. I stood with the mayor and looked at that bridge. It's 20 years past its planned life. It's handling more than double the number of crossings it was designed to handle, and it's 2 lanes narrower than the interstate that feeds into it, causing backups and accidents. Today, the Secretary of Transportation, Pete Buttigieg, is in Philadelphia at the Martin Luther King Bridge, which crosses the Schuylkill River. The bridge is no longer safe for vehicles, even though it used to carry 25,000 vehicles a day. As we prepare to celebrate Dr. King's birthday, we're also reminded that too often bridges and highways were built through the heart of historic communities, particularly black communities, cutting off families, churches, and businesses. We're going to use our infrastructure investments to reconnect communities. One thing I'm certain of, everyone out there knows what I'm talking about. People have written me about bridges they depend on. One man told me that the bridge he traveled on every day is a tragedy waiting to happen. One woman wrote that a bridge near the center of her town had to be closed. And now drivers and tourists bypass downtown, consequently devastating local businesses. And one person wrote to me to say, quote, "This is your chance to show the people in my area that they matter to you," end of quote. I hear you. I hear you. You do matter to me, and we are going to get it done. My infrastructure law includes a total of $40 billion in funding for bridge improvements. $12.5 billion of that is going to replace the most economically significant bridges in the country. These are bridges like, and I've seen them, the Brent Spence Bridge, connecting Ohio and Kentucky, the I-5 Columbia River crossing, connecting Washington and Oregon, the Blatnick Bridge, connecting Minnesota and Wisconsin. But about 2/3 of the bridges in need of repair in this country are considered what they call off-system, because they're not directly connected to the interstate highway system. These are the bridges that are often overlooked when decisions are being made, but they are essential for small towns, rural towns, farmers to get their products to market, small businesses to be able to serve customers. These are the bridges that, when they're closed, shut off deliveries and routes to school, work, and home. They create longer delays for first responders when every second counts. So we've included $27.5 billion for smaller bridges, including dedicated funding for those off-system bridges I just described. And because maintaining these bridges is often the responsibility of counties or towns whose budgets are stretched thin already, we decided to get rid of the requirement that counties or towns share in the cost. The federal government is going to pay for 100% of the cost for repairing these small bridges. Today, we're releasing the first year of that program, which is $5.5 billion. $5.5 billion to states and tribes to repair and rebuild bridges to make them safer and more usable. This is an investment that's going to help connect entire towns and regions to new opportunities. With this investment, we're sending a message to those communities and to the people who call them home. You matter. We're building back and building back better with you. We're making sure you're not left behind or left out. I'll end with this. These investments are consequential. We're just getting started. We're building back better than ever before. Clean water for every American. We've never done that before. Now we're going to do it. High-speed internet for every American. We've never done that before. Now we are. Connecting forgotten communities, capping wells that are dangerous, strengthening our power grid to make it more resilient to extreme weather changes. These are investments our country has never fully made. Now we are. You know, and we've arrived at this by a bipartisan agreement.